This is the Microsoft Cloud Show, episode 149, recorded live September the 27th, 2016. In this episode, CJ and I are going to give an update from the Ignite conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and talk a little bit about the first day's keynotes and some observations we had.
Welcome to the Microsoft Cloud Show, the only place to stay up to date on everything going on in the Microsoft Cloud world, including Microsoft Azure, Office 365, SharePoint, and the competitive landscape and related technologies. Just the information, no marketing, no BS. I'm Andrew Connell.
And I'm Chris Johnson.
Send us a tweet either to the show at MS Cloud Show or to Andrew at Andrew Connell.
Or Chris at LoungeFlyZ.
As we'd love to connect with you. We're just two dudes telling you how we see it. The Microsoft Cloud Show is sponsored by Valid NL. Valid is a Microsoft Gold partner whose mission is to enable its customers to excel in their business through the innovative use of technology. Valid is always on the lookout for consultants, architects, and engineers. Do you know Azure, Business Intelligence and Analytics, .NET, Office 365, or SharePoint? Look them up on valid.nl.
Good morning, CJ.
Morning, AC. How are you?
Doing good. I'm a little tired. You?
A little tired.
It sounds a little weird on this. We've been trying to find time to actually make this recording work, and we're literally doing it from the back of the bus.
We are actually in the back of a bus.
We're in the absolute farthest part of the bus.
That's true. Looking like weirdos talking into a mic at the back of a bus.
So we're on our way to the conference center. We've been trying to find time to be able to sit down and to record this, to do a little recap from the first days of the conference, and it's just been really challenging with like the traffic and everything getting around. And so we decided to do it this morning before we have a bunch of other interviews we have scheduled.
Yep.
You guys will hear those in the next few episodes. So we got some really good stuff lined up today. We actually ran into somebody we're going to interview in just a few minutes as we were getting on the bus. So at least we know that neither one of us will be late to that meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
So, hey man, this is the first day for you guys at Hyperfish on the expo floor. How did it go the first day?
Oh, man, it was a long day, but very exciting. We got lots of people come past the booth, talk to us about what we're up to. We did tons of demos. We got through all sorts of things. So it was really fun.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of traffic. I stopped by one or two times, and you sure seemed like you had quite a bit of traffic, people getting demos and finding out what was going on. So
yeah, I think today will be even stronger because there are no keynotes today.
Yep.
No big general sessions like there were yesterday, so it's sort of a more regular day at Ignite today. I can't believe it's only day 2.
Yeah, oh man, it feels like it's like day 6 already.
No joke.
Yeah, we did. I noticed that there was yesterday. I went to both the keynotes. I went to the keynote in the morning, keynote in the afternoon. I know you guys were working on booth stuff, so.
Yep.
I went to the one where Scott Guthrie was there. The partnership with Adobe was mentioned as well. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're not going to focus on everything with the keynotes. Just focus on the stuff that we talk about with the like 365 and Azure kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then later in the afternoon, went to the Satya Nadella did an innovation keynote. And for both of those, it was a cool experience. I'm here as the media, and so
you got a little extra grooming and attention.
We did, yeah. The night before the expos, we actually got to sit down with some executives and find out what was going on, what they were going to announce and everything. And then the day of the expo, sorry for all the background noise, guys. It's a bus. But one of the other things we did is that we sat down and we talked to, they took us into the keynote room. We got to go into, there's a restaurant in the Phillips Arena, which is the basketball arena here in Atlanta, where the Atlanta Hawks play, and that's where the keynotes were. And so there was a spot where all the press could sit up, we were having breakfast and overlooking the keynote, and then you can kind of go down on the keynote floor, and there was a bunch of tables that were set out, and so we were hunting for hardwired connections because we were supposed to be like live tweeting and doing all this stuff about the show, and they put us on the same network as the attendees, and so let's just say that it's very hard to get a Wi-Fi
signal. It's physics, yo.
Didn't work out so well.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think? So I didn't go to either, but I watched the stream of most of the morning one. But I was obviously working at the show in the afternoon, so I didn't get along. But why don't we kick off with a little bit of a discussion about morning keynote and some of your impressions and what was covered, and hopefully not fly out of the bus window in the process.
We're flying back and forth, grabbing onto the seats right here. I thought it was interesting. There was not. I don't think there was everything that there was one or two big announcements as far as like Azure and Office 365 goes. And for our audience here, there was nothing that was terribly epic that was like that we can go use right now. There's some stuff in the afternoon one that I'll talk about that I thought was interesting that's coming or actually being used today. But in the morning stuff, there wasn't a ton of announcements.
There weren't any sort of like, earth parting moments of whoa.
No, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
It seems like, so from a high level, it really seems, one of the things that Microsoft wanted to emphasize at this conference was security and analytics were two of the really big things that they're really big on. Some of that, as far as like with like Office 365 and stuff that our listeners are familiar with, is that the big piece there is they want to take. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Delve, and it's a way to get a bunch of insights into like your workday and stuff like that. They showed some new features with that. One of the things they did do is they took the Delve Analytics piece and they've pulled that out and renamed it to just My Analytics.
Yeah.
And the idea there is that I think they want to put more analytics also within CRM and the Dynamics products that Microsoft has. And so it's not just a Delve thing. They want to make this like, no, this is a pervasive thing across your entire platform.
Yeah.
But as far in the morning, Scott Guthrie got up. He did a keynote.
One quick impression on his talk was he covered a lot. What I felt, he covered a lot of the same things from previous keynotes again.
Yeah.
Which was like, we've got all these regions and we've got all this hardware and we've got all the scale and all that sort of stuff. And it felt a bit repetitive, at least to begin with.
It was. He did the classic. We have 32 different regions. Where a region is a cluster of more than one data center. And then they have 2 times the number of regions of AWS and Google combined. That was a big stat they wanted to have.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, there really wasn't there wasn't a whole lot of fresh stuff. Now, some of the things they did do, they did get up and they talked about. I guess we'll talk about the big announcement that Microsoft did too. Is they announced a strategic partnership with Adobe.
Yeah, this was a biggie.
Yeah, this is. I know, like Satya Nadella and the CEO of Adobe, they go back a ways, and this deal, effectively what Adobe said is that now Azure is Microsoft's preferred cloud, public cloud. And so more of their stuff we'll probably see over the future. We'll have more stuff being
Azure
deployed.
is Adobe's preferred cloud.
Did I say that backwards?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
You were like Microsoft's preferred cloud, and I was like, I hope so.
Microsoft's preferred cloud is most certainly Azure.
That's right.
They're partial to that over GCP or AWS.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be moving all of their cloud services like Creative Cloud and stuff like that over to Azure. I don't know when, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But, it was a big deal. The reason I think this is kind of strategically important for Microsoft is, Diane Green over at Google's been getting a lot of wins recently with Spotify and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And Microsoft seems to be trying to fight back. They got Boeing to go Azure, and now they're getting Adobe, which is obviously a big cloud deal, to come to Azure. It's nice to see them counterpunching to some of Google's recent moves.
Yeah, it is good to see that. Another thing that they talked about is that we had 2 instances of Donovan Brown coming up on stage. He showed some pretty cool stuff. One thing he did do, and this does kind of go back. It did feel very repetitive from stuff that we saw at Build.
Right.
But he did a DevOps thing where he showed the whole pipeline using the stuff that we talked about with Gavin Barron recently, where
VSTS.
Yeah, VSTS and the whole. The ability to have a complete build pipeline and tool chain to go to when you check in your code, and then it just goes through a build. It goes through the deployment, the tests. He showed that working though not just on Windows. He showed that working on Linux as well. And at the very end, building a Docker image and pushing it to Docker Hub. So I mean, there was that part of it that was interesting. That was a little bit new there.
Yeah.
But it showed how you can have the entire tool chain. And I think that one of the things that they were stressing, which is definitely a selling point, but it can also kind of be in the complete opposite as well. Is that we can do your entire tool chain, have everything that you want to have in one spot, and we give you all the action stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
I know that you and I aren't using TFS for our build chain for the stuff that we work on. Instead, we're doing best of breed and pulling things from a bunch of different places. So I mean, it is nice. I know an enterprise can have everything in one spot, but then it can be also a little challenging as well. It can be a little challenging as well when you want to be able to say snap in a different piece or something. The other thing that he did do in the afternoon, or in the later morning one, was when he did Donovan Brown came up and he did a pretty cool demo showing the Azure Monitor. And so this is a new service that I think is live now or is going to be live very shortly. And it's essentially a way for you to think like the Microsoft Operations Suite, but think about the Azure version of it, looking at your websites, looking at your VMs, all that stuff, and looking at it all from one single dashboard inside of Azure.
Nice.
Not only are you looking at all of your stuff inside of your Azure deployment, but you're also looking at stuff that is on-prem as well. So you can actually have that stuff on hybrid as well and see one single dashboard. He showed things like if you have a bunch of Windows servers, and those things are, they need, or Linux servers as well, and they need to be updated and patched. You've got one view that you can look at and see, which ones have been patched, what patch level they're at, and all that from one single spot, one dashboard.
This is kind of a nice aggregation of visibility.
Yeah, and apparently he said that he was saying that it doesn't matter where they are; you can pull them from anywhere. So I would assume that would imply that it's not just on-prem in Azure, but you could probably run some little agent or some little script to go install something on a VM that you had, say, in a different cloud, or if you had it in a different data center or whatever, and to be able to have that stuff show up as well. And it's just a kind of a phoning home thing.
Nice.
It was cool to see the different, all the stuff, the analytics that he had, and they were able to then take the data that they're pulling from the monitor dashboard they have, put that into an analytics piece, and show you what servers are being used when you can shut things down and stuff like that. So I found that to be pretty interesting as well.
That's kind of nice, have it all in one spot.
Yeah. It tied into with their security center and all that stuff that they announced back at Build.
We also heard a wee shout out to our little hybrid friend, the Azure Stack.
Oh yeah, we did. We did. Yeah, I know. This was announced as Tech Preview 2.
Yeah.
It was announced it's going out. They've been getting a bunch of really good feedback, and they wanted to expand that into a bigger audience.
Yeah, because they pushed out general availability until mid next year, I think. Mm-hmm. And so this is kind of a stopgap measure. I get the feeling we might see another Tech Preview early next year or something.
Yeah.
And this one is we delayed your Azure Stack, but here's another Tech Preview to play with.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it was, there were some interesting comments or questions about that in the pre-briefing that I got the night before from people asking about Azure Stack and comparing it to what some of the other vendors were saying. And it was interesting to see some of the different execs kind of get a little hot under the collar on some stuff they saw. So it was just kind of funny seeing the different reactions you had there. But yeah, absolutely.
And hey, one of the guests in the keynote was Tycho, and as I understand it, you literally ran into the guy the night before. What was that all about?
Yeah, that was an accident. At the reception piece before for all the media, I was walking over to go grab something to drink real quick, and an old friend of ours was there. He's actually over in Windows Security now, Rob Leffers, who used to be in the Office 365 space and SharePoint space, and he was talking all about the security side and about the stuff that he's here. He was doing one of the general keynotes and talking about the security improvements they had in Windows. And he was talking to 2 or 3 other people, and as I kind of turned around to talk to him, I kind of bumped into someone, and then he introduces me to these people. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. And then the CTO of Tycho gets up on stage and everything, and I was like, oh crap,
that's the guy I ran into.
That's the guy I ran into and just said, hey, what's up, man?
The people you meet, huh?
Yeah, they were showing how it was security is such a forefront thing in their mind, and all the stuff with Windows, all the new changes to Windows security. That was a big thing that Microsoft was talking about, like sandboxing a process around Edge inside of Windows 10 and stuff like that. We don't want to get too much into detail on that because it's really not too focused on Cloud Show, but there was a lot of stuff there.
Hey, so we got some, they briefly touched on Docker and Windows Server 2016, which is kind of nice to see that progressing along.
Yep.
And
actually GA, it went GA yesterday too.
Oh, GA, I missed that.
Yeah, so Windows Server 2016 went GA, so that now you can do Docker containers, Windows
Very
containers
nice.
On top of Windows Server 2016. You can do that now. You can go grab it. The bits are available now for you to go grab and do that stuff. So now we are in production. Docker is now fully cross-platform.
Yep.
You can run Docker images in Windows. You can run them in everywhere. It's fantastic.
That's cool. Yeah, I tried to play around with it in the previous Tech Preview. I got a chance to play around with it. I think, where was that? A conference a few months ago, and it worked pretty well. And then I tried to do it in Azure by myself, and things just went, no, not very well. So I'm going to give it another shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was a couple of other things they talked about too. Some interesting stats around just some security stuff that they said with Azure and how they were doing things like had updated over 1 billion Windows devices, going through all the different updates they've been doing recently. Just really a lot of emphasis on security stuff.
Didn't they mention 400 million Windows 10 installs?
They did, yeah. So 400 million Windows 10 installs. They're not at their target of within 2 or 3 years of hitting 1 billion.
Yeah.
But they're still working through it. They're still trying to roll it out, or still rolling it out, and it's going well. And they had 2 big updates to it in the last year or so.
There's some pretty cool numbers. 200 billion emails analyzed for spam and malware. That's a lot of mail.
In Office 365, yeah.
That's crazy. 2.5 trillion indexed URLs.
Yeah.
Wow.
1 billion, and it was also 1 billion authentication requests per day in Azure AD.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, I guess when you add up all of the things, excuse me, all the things going on with Live ID and like people logging into 365 and every device and all that sort of stuff, that's a lot of logins.
That's a lot of logins. It really is. I mean, it's tremendous. I was, in the last episode, I did a little Ignite Wire where I grabbed Vittorio from the Azure AD team, and I was talking to him about how much responsibility you've got, dealing with that, not just in the making sure that the uptime's there, but also the security and being able to monitor and protect that with it's just incredible the amount of stuff that's there.
Yeah, those are big numbers, right? And it's hard to fathom how many zeros that is.
Oh, that's a lot of zeros.
And how many times your code gets run.
That's a lot of zeros. There was, the numbers.
Major pucker factor on the bugs there.
It would be terrifying. Yeah, absolutely terrifying. So that was basically the morning keynote. All right, so we got off the bus. A little bit better background noise here.
It's a little better.
Lack thereof. Now we're over in the conference center. So let's talk a little bit about the second keynote here, right?
Yeah.
So the second keynote was later in the afternoon. This was interesting how you had one keynote in the morning and then
it was a different sort of format, right?
It really was.
Most of these conferences, they do, a keynote on day one, and it goes kind of until 11 or 11:30, and then you have another keynote maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday. But this time it was all squished into day one, which was interesting. And they had these, the large general sessions. So they had sort of 5 or 6 concurrent large general sessions after the first day keynote, and then later in the afternoon, everybody comes back to come listen to the big guy.
Yeah.
Well, not literally, but
he's pretty tall.
Yeah, I guess so. Satya Nadella. So yeah, tell us a little. You went to that one as well, and you got a chance to listen into some of the news and things before the keynote. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool. He did. He talked about this. This is an innovation keynote, and they, Julia White came out just like she did. She came out and did the first keynote. She came out and she introduced everybody. And so she introduced Satya to come up on stage and to talk about what he was going to talk about. Now this is to set the stage here. Everything that he talked about was they set the stage as everything they talked about was going to be stuff that was not stuff you could use today or tomorrow. It's stuff that's kind of looking farther on down the line. But it was kind of funny because the last demo that they did, it was all about today, right? It was something that was going on today, and I'll show you. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Nice.
But his big push is all around like analytics and insight and cloud and massive scale and stuff. So he talked about some really cool things here.
It's funny because that's kind of quite a lot of his background. He spent a lot of time in the SQL team and running parts of C&E before he became CEO. So I think data is near and dear to his heart.
Yeah, well, you can tell. I mean, I love listening to this guy speak too because he's got so much of the passion. You can buy into what he's saying because you can tell he really gives a damn about this.
And he knows what he's talking about.
Yep.
He's technically grounded.
Not a sales guy.
Not a sales guy. He used to be a techie guy.
Yep.
And so it comes across, to me at least, very genuine and sincere and knowledgeable.
Yeah, he really did. Now, a lot of stuff that he talked about was around things, again, like we talked about earlier in the episode, that was stuff that wasn't so much cloud focused or Azure or 365 focused. So I'm going to exclude some of the Windows stuff and the security stuff that he talked about there. I guess one cool thing that he did do is he did bring Deion Sanders, who's a former NFL player, for those who aren't familiar, also known as Prime Time.
Gotcha.
But he brought him up to do a little demo of using the Microsoft Bot framework and trying to come up with your best fantasy football lineup. So,
yeah, I also hear he tried to ask him if he knew anything about cricket.
He did, and Dion kind of was like deer in the headlights. He was like going,
"What's that?
Yeah, what are you talking about there?" So he's like, "Is that something you play in the waters?" I think that's what he said.
Usually not.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a surprise. It was just, he's like, "Yeah, just somebody everybody's all familiar with. Let's bring him out here." So it's like I was pretty surprising. Dion was right in front of us, but. So Satya talked a lot about, he said, the big thing that they really want to do is they want to pursue artificial intelligence. And one of the things that he was really sensitive to is about making sure that in pursuing AI, it's not so much about, replacing humans or something. It's not about to beat humans at a game or something like that.
Yeah.
He said it was all about AI and to make your life better and to augment what's going on. And so one of the examples they used is about using going back to the Dynamics thing that we talked about earlier. They want to be able to take the analytics that they get from within Dynamics, which I think the stat they said is like in the sales process, 80% of the sales process happens outside of your CRM system.
Yeah.
And so they want to be able to use machine learning and AI, and they want all that stuff to look at what's out there outside of the CRM system to be able to impact and bring that data in. So
Makes sense.
things are changing on LinkedIn, and things are changing on like web searches and news that are going on. People are talking about it, or different deals that are going between two different companies. You want to be able to integrate that stuff into your CRM, and you do it in a way that is more relevant to what your business does.
Yeah, I see.
So that was the kind of stuff that he was really focused on.
No, so it's not like it's not Skynet, it's not Rise of the Machines.
No.
It's about helping us rather than taking us over.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, he used that whole AI thing too by bringing up. He brought up Laura Jones, she demoed the intelligent agent, or the intelligent agent, which is a new thing that's supposed to ship, I believe, towards the end of this year. And the idea with this is that they were showing how like ink that you write like in Windows 10, if you write like a phone number, it can tell it's a phone number. If it sees a time that you list, then you can click on the time and it actually will create a reminder or something like that. So it was showing a bunch of different things that that it could be used for. But then he started switching over, talking a little bit more about Office 365 and Dynamics, and saying that they want to be able to bring like all of the analytics, what I said earlier, taking all the analytics that you have in things like in Delve and moving that more into the Dynamics suite, being able to use that inside of your, like in CRM and stuff. And part of that's going to require a hell of a lot more processing power. And there was a really cool demo at the end that we'll talk about in a minute. That is, I mean, talk about like some heady kind of geeky stuff that's been going on for years, but it's a really freaking cool demo.
Very cool.
He went through and talked a little bit more about some of Cortana was a big thing for them, using the Cortana for like intelligent insights and stuff, and collecting more and more information. I tell you, it's going to be interesting to see how this is perceived in the press, and how users are going to perceive this, because they talked about how they've worked really hard to pull in so much data from users, and how they work and how they live, using Cortana, and the number of like queries that are. I think it was something like 1 billion queries were done with Cortana.
Wow.
Something like that. 1 billion questions were asked from users and stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see how people perceive that, because there was a lot of, we wanted to learn more about who you are and what you do in your work and be able to use that insights. It's like, that's a lot of PII information. They emphasized that, they're pretty heavy in English, pretty heavily in North America, but they're not so much outside of that. And they really want to go to those other markets. So let's see how that plays.
I guess that'll sort of happen as people get more comfortable with asking machines for things, and starting to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess they also mentioned bot framework.
They did. They talked a little bit about the bot framework. That's the part when Deion Sanders came out. Stuff. And they were showing how you want to be able to have a way to interact with some system, and you want to do it in the place that's most familiar to you. So with Microsoft's pitches, do it inside like Facebook, do it inside Skype, do it inside of Windows, and with what the bot framework does is that it gives you a way without having. Every bot's going to have like common things that it's got to deal with. It's got to do like natural language query parsing. It's got to be able to understand how to have like a dialogue or respond and stuff, and authentication. And that's what the bot framework does. Is it gives you that stuff that's kind of reusable that everything's going to end up having to deal with to save you some time with that stuff. Yeah,
nice. We're playing around with it at Hyperfish for our bot, and it's pretty good. It doesn't include Skype for Business channel yet, but I think they're working on that, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And but it's pretty straightforward to get started with, so it was cool.
It was cool. They did come out though, I tell you one thing they did before we get to the really cool thing, I thought, as far as Azure's concerned, they did what is probably the most compelling HoloLens demo that I've seen.
Yeah, you explained this to me. It sounded really cool.
It was really cool. It was really well done. All the other HoloLens demos, to me, HoloLens is cool, but seeing like kids shooting stuff in a wall and climbing out a wall, it's like it's gimmicky.
But this one was useful.
It was. So this is actually being worked on right now as part of a pilot program with Pinterest and Lowe's. And what it is that I just went through this with a bathroom remodel, and so I found it very applicable.
Very topical. Sounds like nice. Satya also found it very topical.
It was. He had done a remodel with his wife of his house, and a lot of the comments. I'd encourage people, if you want to see something funny, man, go watch like Satya's part talking about this Lowe's demo, and then watch his comments right after it. There's really just a few little comments right there, but it was really funny. You could tell that like he wasn't a big fan of the renovation project at his house, and I got the feel that this was driven by his wife, which I'm not. So it was our project, and the part of the process you could tell he was just like going, man, I think that like an exercise in remodeling is an exercise in how many times you have to go back and forth to Lowe's to get samples. So
yeah, every one of my home DIY projects requires at least 2 or 3 trips to Home Depot.
Exactly. So what they did is they brought a couple out and they donned their HoloLens things, and what they had done is that they had gone to Pinterest and they had pinned a bunch of pictures of like a kitchen. They were doing a kitchen remodel, a bunch of kitchens that they liked. And they took all those pictures and they had them in Pinterest on a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
And then Lowe's went through, using Microsoft's AI and the whole machine learning stuff, we're able to look at all the pictures in Pinterest to find commonalities between them, and then to look at some of the pre-canned offerings that Lowe's has for different kitchens, and saying these are the ones that most closely resemble what you were looking for, like to a certain percentage of accuracy.
Yeah.
So they went through and they picked one, and then it was pretty cool because the couple that was there, they were able to change things like the countertops and then the paint color and then the backsplash and then add an island and then raise the height over the island and walk around and see it. For like a remodeling project, makes a lot of sense because I'm looking at like when we were doing it for our bathroom, I could see all the different parts, but I couldn't visualize the final product. I couldn't see how it all came together.
Gotcha.
And even they're doing the construction, same deal. And finally, when the tile starts going in, and finally when the walls get painted and stuff like that, and the glass gets up, it's like, okay, now I can put it together. And something like HoloLens would have helped be able to visualize that before. I mean, granted, they do it today in the 3D modeling stuff, but it's not something you can kind of look around and get perspective on and stuff.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of applications in that retail kind of area that are going to be similar, right?
Yep.
Visualizing how something's going to look in your house, or how your extension to your house is going to look, or a different roof or what have you. That's cool.
Yeah. And then this last thing that they did, man.
Yeah, you explained this to me and it just blew my mind. So walk us through it.
This is really cool. So it's called FPGAs, and what this is that if you can program something on hardware, it's going to be significantly faster than what's on software because the hardware just has got so much better efficiency.
Sure.
The trick is that reprogramming the hardware is a pain in the butt, and it's not something you can do on the fly until now. And so what Microsoft had done, this started like a decade ago, and there's a really good article on Wired if you go look this up, and a bunch of the tweets we posted, and I'll find the link and put it in the show notes, but there's a really good article on Wired that kind of walks through the history of this and what it can do. But what this is a piece of silicon. It's an actual like card. So I think it looked kind of like a video card, but a smaller video card. And they were able to take this thing and put it inside of a machine. So what does it do? It allows them to reprogram on the fly the hardware, the hardware that's on this chip to be able to be more to adapt to whatever process or whatever like use case they're actually going to be using it for. So,
gotcha.
A lot of people are doing that today with, like, say, the NVIDIA, the graphics chips, the GPUs. The GPUs. This is taking that to the next level, like really taking it up to the next level. So, for example, the performance boost that you get from this is just ridiculous. They showed a demo of this. Apparently, they've been rolling these cards into a lot of the machines in Azure over the last 2-3 years. So what they did is they showed a demo where they took War and Peace, the novel, the Russian novel. 1,400 pages. I'm like, let's translate this from Russian over to English. Plugged it in, went through the whole process. They ran it with a normal Azure VM. It took 19.6 seconds to translate that entire bit. Then they go through and they say, well, let's take the same thing and let's translate it with the exact same size machine that we have in Azure, but one that's got one of these. I think it's called the Field Programmable Gate Array. I can't forget. FPGA, yeah. When they put it in with this, when they went through and translate with this, it did it in, I think, 2.6 seconds. So it was something like 73 words per minute, or words per second, to like 530 words per second.
Wow.
So the performance was ridiculous. And they're like, well, let's really try and push this. Can we do something really big here? And so they said, well, let's take another corpus of English content. So they went to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
They found Wikipedia's got something like 5.2, I think is what it is, a little over 5 million articles that are all in the English language.
Yeah.
Of those, comes out to 3.1 or 3.2 billion words that are English. So let's try and translate this. What they had done is they've been taking this different, they'd taken the content and they took all the machines, all the cards that they had deployed to Azure that are running Bing services and everything. And they said, well, let's just scale up and see if all the ones we've actually deployed so far, how long would it take to translate Wikipedia?
All of them.
All of it.
Wow.
Right? There's a ton. Went through and put it in. It took, I keep messing this number up, make sure I can get this right. It took 0.0196 seconds, so less than 0.2 of a second, to translate all of Wikipedia from English to Russian. And the funny part was, he's like going, yeah, you probably heard that number and you blinked, like going, oh my god, because it takes 0.2 of a second to blink. So we were able to translate Wikipedia
all of Wikipedia faster than you can blink.
Then you could open your eyes again.
Yeah.
It was, what's the impact there? You know, companies like Google and Amazon have been working on this as well. It's been they haven't gotten it right just yet. What this does is that with all this AI, it's going to require a ridiculous amount of processing. If you're able to go and boost the performance of a machine by that much, see that kind of a return, that's going to give you a significant boost in terms of both cost savings, the amount of stuff that you can end up doing, power savings. They did like a fraction of the power that was required to do it.
Yeah,
it's really cool. It really did a lot of stuff.
What a cool demo too, because people would have just gone, wow.
Oh yeah, it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. They were like,
because everybody uses Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Everybody can visualize it in their head how big it is.
Yep.
And how much content there is, and it really, it was an excellent choice of demos.
Oh, it totally was. It totally was.
Because some of these things are pretty theoretical, right? And that's a great way to make it very practical for people.
It was, yeah, because not only, that's being used today. That was the one that was part of the innovation keynote. It's like, hey, look, we can do this stuff right now today. And we showed it working. So that's pretty cool.
So these magic cards,
yeah,
they sound like they're like, silver bullets. But they're a wee ways off still.
Well, they're rolling them out right now. They've been rolling them into Azure for the last 2-3 years. They said it's what powers all of Bing services right now.
Gotcha.
And so now they're real today, and they're using them. So I think technology has been underdeveloped for the last 10 years or so. The article on Wired is pretty funny because it shows how the first generation screwed things up pretty bad. The second generation, they were getting ready to test it, and they had like an accidental fire suppression system went off and destroyed them all.
Oh, whoops!
And it was that set them back even farther. So it's been quite an experience for them to get to this point. But
the big question on my mind is it going to give me better graphics processing on my home PC?
Today, no.
No.
Today, no. But it might actually help Xbox because a lot of that stuff is outsourced to Titanfall.
To the
they
cloud.
do a lot of that stuff to clouds where they can do it a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah, nice.
So that was the first day's keynotes, man.
Good wrap up.
Yeah,
You've been busy boy.
I've been busy. Today's going to be nuts, man. We got somebody sitting over just a customer across from us waiting for me to interview them right now. So
and just a reminder to all our listeners, we've got the live show coming up on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So tune into that. You can go up to microsoftcloudshow.com/Ignite 2016.
Yep.
And we'll get a live video stream there, and tune in on the Twitters as well at MS Cloud Show, and submit your questions or give us real-time feedback over Twitter.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you.
We'll be watching Twitter, and hey, if you're at the conference, make sure you stop by. There's plenty of room for you to stop by. We can try and get the audience kind of involved a little bit. I checked the space out, so it looks good.
Excellent.
Good.
All right,
Awesome,
cheers,
man.
AC.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Did you like this episode? Send us a tweet about it and drop us a 5-star review in iTunes. Word-of-mouth recommendations are the most effective ways for us to grow the show. We'd really appreciate it. If you have a question for us, go to microsoftcloudshow.com/questions, where you can submit it as text or record it as a WAV or an MP3 and provide a link so that we can play your question on the show. Our theme music is an excerpt from Evaporated Air by Monk Turner, used under Creative Commons. You can subscribe to us in iTunes and the Google Play Store by searching for Microsoft Cloud Show, or via RSS at microsoftcloudshow.com, where you'll also find show notes of each episode. You can also find us on Facebook, searching for Microsoft Cloud Show, or on Twitter at MS Cloud Show. And finally, sign up to our mailing list by heading to our website and entering your email to interact with us, participate in upcoming interviews, and other cool stuff. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.